What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jared Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as well. How are you this fine evening?
I'm just now noticing in the viewfinder that we look, why are we all wearing all black?
I was wearing a lighter colored shirt when you got here. And I was.
Yeah, you were. And then you changed.
Because I already felt sweaty. And I was like, if we get started now, I'm just by the end going to be a puddle.
Oh
so
my
I
God.
had to switch to the
I am so unobservant. If you had never mentioned it, I never would have noticed.
I'm surprised then when you came to check on Birdie this weekend while we were at ACL that Michael's car got you.
Oh my God. Just because whenever I get here and I know that you guys are supposed to be gone,
Yeah.
and an unknown additional car is
Oh,
at
yeah.
the house,
I get
wasn't
that.
even scared like that Michael, what I was actually afraid of was an awkward occurrence because I was like, what if he's in there?
Yeah.
And I have to still go in there to check on the dog. He's probably not expecting me. So what I assumed had happened is maybe you and Sam had accidentally double booked Birdie's
no.
watching after. And I was like, oh God, we're going to have to have an awkward hello.
He was going to ACL with us. Just the first day, he didn't. He went earlier than us and all that. And
So
then,
no point in
and just in all of
carpooling.
no carpooling, and then in just in the process of us planning, I never relayed that information.
Well,
but what's funny is then we were looking at the cameras that night when we were coming home, and it was like it was like around 10 or something like that, and Sam looked at the cameras like, oh, Mogan's still there.
No, I'm not.
Like, no, that's Michael's car. So I got her too because the cameras were it was night, so they were in the night vision, and you couldn't tell the colors or anything like that. And so it got multiple people.
Gotcha. I was giving myself kudos for remembering what car Michael drives.
Yeah, that is good too.
But also there, as any adult will know, there is truly no greater horror in life than anticipating an awkward human interaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I hate
truly
it. I hate
the real
it.
terror.
Yep. It's not great.
Yeah.
But fortunately,
We
there
don't have
won't
to
be
talk to
any
humans.
awkward human interactions here because we're going to be talking.
I mean,
about
we're naturally
video games.
awkward,
a little
but
bit, a little bit. But fortunately, we've spent enough time with each other. The awkwardness somewhat
After
has
10
worn off,
years,
right?
10
My
long
God.
years.
It's getting there. Actually, we are getting close to our birthday.
Oh my God.
What is it? Next year will be 10. So this is 9.
We're going to be 9 years
Oh
old.
my God.
Wow.
Beginning of November, everybody mark your calendars.
We can almost go to middle school.
But you can
Anyways.
hear us talk about those video games like you've been doing for the past 9 years. Thank you for being here. And here on Team Chat Podcast. And you can listen to new episodes every week when they air on podcast services around the World Wide Web, as well as watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Threads, and Instagram. We also have a Discord server that you can join and take part in some fun conversation when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to help make the show bigger and better, you can head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, just like Allison H, Ark, Brandon W, Bro Mogan, Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L, Elise F, James K, Michael B, Michael S, Snooty Boots, Susan M, and Zach S have done. Whereas for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. And in return, we give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general Thursday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery, as well as some extra goodies for our $5 monthly tier. You get early access to our special subsidiary show, Team Chit Chat, where we talk about anything else other than games. So you get some good stuff along the way. But if you can't do that, that's no big deal. We totally understand. And there are a lot of great ways that you can support the show for free, such as telling your friends, writing us reviews, or subscribing to wherever you listen to or watch the show. All that helps get the good word of Team Chat Podcast out there to the masses. And for that, we are eternally grateful to each and every one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike. Bam. Heart emojis.
Smooches. XOXO.
Before we get into the main topic of the day, let's get a little bit of news and what's coming out soon.
Yes,
in our moment
of
with Mogan.
course. So as of this week, games that are out now or coming very soon, we've got Kind Words 2 for PC and Mac. Silent Hill 2...
Do you just say nice things to everyone?
That's a good question.
I'm curious now.
Yeah, well, maybe we should play it. Silent Hill 2 Remake is out for
nice.
PC and PS5. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred DLC is out for all major consoles and PC. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I think this is the new fighting game for Dragon Ball?
Yes, I believe so.
I can't believe they're not just adding on to their existing one, the way Tekken does. But anyways, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is out for PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S on October 10th. Oh, that's today. Sky Oceans Wings for Hire is coming to PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Metaphor Refantazio, or Fantazio if you want to get really Italian with it, is coming to PC, PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S on October 11th. This, I believe, is the new Atlas game that is sort of...
Persona adjacent?
The Persona adjacent is a great way to describe it. So it looks like it's Shin Megami Tensei and Persona adjacent. I personally know that I am not interested in that, having played both before, but I completely get it for anybody who's into it. I get the appeal. It's just not for me. Last Time I Saw You is out for PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S on the 11th as well. Transformers Galactic Trials is out for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Starship Troopers Extermination. Is this a knockoff of Helldivers?
No, it's actually, I mean, the argument could be made that Helldivers is a knockoff of Starship Troopers.
Are they just reclacking their brand?
And so now Starship Troopers is actually coming out with a game.
I've
seen some videos and stuff and trailers for it. It looks fun. I actually rewatched when we went to Seattle a couple weeks. I rewatched Starship Troopers on the plane because I've actually read the book.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, I know.
There's a book?
There is a book. Well, that's a movie based on the book kind of thing.
Okay, well.
And I read it, and it was good. And then I was like, I haven't seen the movie in years. I'll watch it now.
Fascinating.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah. I should go back and watch that one. Anyways, Transformers Starship Europa is out for PC and Switch on the 11th as well. New World Eternum gets us into next week. That's out on the 15th for PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. Just Dance VR is out for MetaQuest 2, MetaQuest Pro, and MetaQuest 3 on the, say that 3 times fast, on October 15th. Squirrel with a Gun.
That game looks crazy. Have you seen anything for that?
It does look very silly.
Oh, man, it looks silly.
It is out for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S next week on the 15th as well. Oh, one that actually matters. Neva. The new Grease.
Wow, that's this month.
I think, yeah. If this is accurate, then Neva is coming to PC,
I,
Switch.
for some reason, had that in as a next year game.
Maybe it got a delay. Maybe this list is out of date. I will double check.
I'm sure this list is right, but like,
it just feels like it should still be so far away.
A ways away, yeah.
So if it's coming out on the 15th, it will be for PC, Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. And those are all of the things that matter that get us through the 15th.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, one of the games that recently came out is what we're going to be talking about today because Mogan had the chance to play it, and it looks a lot of fun. So for today's main topic, Mogan has brought for us a full review of the Plucky Squire.
The Plucky Squire!
What a fun name!
What a fun name for a very fun and whimsical game. And I mean, not to put like too fine a point on it, but whimsy is really like the number one emotion that I can put on the Plucky Squire. It is clearly their core value proposition, and they executed on that very well. So we first saw the Plucky Squire at one of the Devolver Digitals, maybe like a year or two ago. Maybe it was last year's Devolver Direct. I feel like that feels about right.
Like the E3 or what was
during
formerly E3
fake
times.
E3, yeah, I feel like that sounds about right. So everybody knows that Devolver Digital generally publishes really good games. Sometimes they're not for everybody. Sometimes they're really, really weird and off the beaten path. But I feel like the Plucky Squire is actually one of the more family-friendly games.
Oh yeah, for
that
sure.
I would say that Devolver has published. Maybe not. I don't know their entire catalog, but from my perspective, it's like, oh wow, this is such a kid-friendly game. I think it's rated E for everyone, which is very
That's gotta
rare.
be a trick.
Yeah,
it's
it's gotta be a trick. It's like as kid-friendly as any Mario game is.
Oh, all right.
So the whole hook to the Plucky Squire is that you are playing a storybook. And it's literally a storybook adventure because when the game starts, it sort of takes you into this sweeping panoramic view into a child's bedroom, and then you go and you have a nice view of the kid's desk, and on the desk is a book, The Plucky Squire.
And I saw some screenshots of this because I haven't had a chance to play this game yet. I do want to check it out eventually. But these like screenshots of like what the world looks like of like this kid's bedroom, it looks like Toy Story, like Andy's room in Toy Story.
It absolutely does. So imagine Toy Story, but with the like modern day graphics of a Pikmin game. It is
Very
such
nice.
a great cross between like a more human-centered story in present day and Pikmin. I mean, you don't have the management aspects of Pikmin at all, but
sure.
like for the vibe that Pikmin is bringing to the table, Plucky Squire has that in spades. So let's sort of get to that. So you've got the room, you've got the kid's room. I don't remember what his name is. We'll call him Chris. I think he has a name, but I couldn't care less what it is. So you're in Chris's room and you're literally reading the Plucky Squire. Now there is a narrator.
Oh,
and
fun.
Yeah, so the entire game is very British flared. So the narrator has a British accent. All of the characters have little British accents. They're very, very cute. But the narrator is quite literally reading out the story to you. So every time there's text on the book, on the screen, the narrator reads that for you. So no need for subtitles because it is both in the book and the narrator is there to tell you what for. And for once, I can make him out perfectly fine. Which most modern games with talking, I can't, just can't. So the whole sort of tutorial stage of the Plucky Squire is you are going through his storybook. So the whole spiel is that the Plucky Squire is like a staple of every kid's literary journey. It's very much implied that he has many books all about him, where he goes on all of these different adventures, and he's got his little friends that accompany him, Violet and Thrash, that's his name. Violet and Thrash. Thrash is a little like mountain troll, but he's really cute. And Violet is an apprentice witch.
Ooh.
So you've got the Plucky Squire. He's your typical Legend of Zelda sort of voiceless hero. Then you've got his little friends and their mentor figure, Moonbeard, who is a traditional blue star robe wizard, which I love. Every time there's an old school wizard, I'm like, hell yes. But Moonbeard is a little bit cooler than your average wizard. He's a little bit more hip. He wears sunglasses.
Well, that's cool.
At all times. He's very cool. And every time you're sort of in a scene with him, he has his own sort of theme song. And it's like very sort of almost techno and hip hop sort of beats to it. So you very much get the gist that Moonbeard is a cool dude. It's good to be on his good side. So you're playing through the first few pages of the Plucky Squire. You're going on an adventure. Now, you know that your old nemesis, Humbug, is I think his name is Humbug. It's either Humbug or Humburg. Yeah, look up what I think it's Humbug. It's something very silly like that. Humburger? I forget what his name is. I think it's Humbug. Anyways, Humbug is up to some nonsense once again. There are all of these little pockets of magic on the pages.
Humgrump.
Humgrump, of course. How could I not? Humburger. Humgrump.
Humbug.
So the evil wizard Humgrump is up to his old tricks again. He's sort of like Dr. Eggman in the Sonic games. He's like your less scary Ganondorf from the Legend of Zelda games. You get the gist that he's very like incompetent.
Yeah.
Because he's very easily struck down by a child and his child friends again and again and again throughout all these different tales. So you and your friends are off to Tome Tower, a really cool place that looks like a scary owl, like made out of stone.
Ooh.
It's actually quite terrifying. But you get to the tower and you make your way up it and you're fighting a couple of little enemies along the way. And when you get to the top of the tower, you are going to fight Humgrump. And this is where we get into light spoiler. I'm going to be talking about the story while we're doing this because this isn't first impressions. This is a final review. I'm not going to tell anybody the ending, but I'm also not going to not talk about the
Details will be
story.
dropped.
Yeah. So in this initial part, you're talking to Humgrump and the fight doesn't even start because Humgrump is like, oh no. We're not. He monologues at you. So and that guy, they're always doing that shit.
You got me monologuing.
He got me monologuing. So he's monologuing at you, and he's like, "Oh, but I've learned a secret of this land." So Humgrump has somehow managed to learn to break the fourth wall of their reality, and he is now cognizant of the fact that they're in a storybook.
Oh.
He knows how the story ends, how it always ends. He knows that he literally cannot win against the Plucky Squire. He has Jot, excuse me. The Plucky Squire has a real name. His name is Jot.
Oh, okay. I like Plucky Squire though too.
Yeah, but it's so
Let's
cute.
just call him Plucky.
Let's just call him Pluckarooski. Anyways, so Jot wins every time. It is written in stone in the pages of the book. But Humgrump has gotten a hold of some new magics. He has figured out how to get outside the book.
Oh, damn.
So that's exactly what he does. He casts Jot out of the book. He ejects you from your storybook home into reality, into the 3D built world.
Interesting.
And this is where all of the game's core mechanics come from, is this really fun interplay between your capabilities and the types of puzzles that you have available to you in the flat 2D planes of the book versus what you can do in the 3D built world, in the platforming world. It is such a fun juxtaposition between the two. Any questions so far?
No, I think I've got it. That sounds a lot, though, like how Mario Odyssey did a few areas, where like you would have like the towers or whatever that would look like old 2D pixel Mario,
Yes,
and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool, because I'd seen, like I said, like screenshots and saw that there was like real world stuff, but I just kind of thought it was like, from stuff I had seen before, that it was the screen of the game as you were playing is like the desk, top down view of the desk, and the book is there, and it's played through the book, and it's just kind of like the real world. The real world is kind of just like the framing to it, kind of a thing.
Yes.
But that's really cool that so much of the gameplay itself takes place outside of the book.
Absolutely. And that was also something that I wasn't really expecting. I knew that it had those sorts of aspects to it, but I definitely agree that a lot of the early marketing really focused on the storybook portion, and for good reason, because I will say that just straight up and down, the entire game is gorgeous.
Yeah, it
is so good looking.
Delightful would be a great way to, I would say, from just the pictures and stuff I've seen.
I mean, well, never mind. I'll circle back around to that later. But the look of the picture book is just an absolute slam dunk of like childhood art from any storybook that you can think of as a kid. This would have fit right in reality. And then when you leave and go out into the built world, it's actually gorgeous. Like, it's very stylized. Like, the characters are very rounded. They're very sort of polygonal in their own. Well, not polygonal. Like I said, they're very rounded, but they're not made to look realistic.
Right. They're cartoonish.
Exactly, because they are still storybook characters, just in a new world. And all of the little enemies that you had from the storybook have come with you, because Humgrump sent them all out into the build.
He wants the storybook land for himself.
He is. So that's what he's working on. Humgrump's whole plan is he's going to cast Jot out of the book so that he can basically have full power over the book and change it to his whims. And he's going to use that by bringing in things from the built world, casting things out of the book, all sorts of different various magical hijinks. He's up to no good, that's to be sure. But before we go too far into the story, I do want to mention the developer and the publisher. So obviously the developer is Devolver Digital. The publisher, this is the flagship game from indie studio All Possible Futures. So the studio, I'm ripping this from the Wikipedia page. So and it's also in the in-game credits, obviously. But the studio was founded by James Turner and Jonathan Biddle. I believe that Turner is an alum of Game Freak, of all things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that he's previously worked on some of the Pokemon games. I think primarily on art for the games. I'm not sure if that's entirely true. And then, where's the other guy? Biddle has previously worked with Devolver Digital as the creative director for The Swords of Ditto. And then I was also looking more into Turner's backstory. He also apparently got a project launch, and I think was maybe the director or sort of just sort of the main ideas guy for a rhythm game that was on that was on the 3DS back in the day, back in 2012 or something like that.
That's cool.
That was before my hardcore rhythm gamer days, so I didn't know anything about it. Oh, it was called Harmonite. That's what it is. So Turner has worked on the Pokemon games and Harmonite before, and Biddle has worked on the Swords of Ditto. So this is their first foray as their own gaming studio, and holy shit.
It's good.
They did a really, really good job.
Nice.
So you're playing through the game, and once you get into the built world, it really opens up a ton of new abilities for you. So let's sort of talk about how you play the game. So when you are in the storybook land, obviously everything is on a totally flat 2D plane. It's not like a top-down isometric view. It is a flat plane, like the old Zelda games before they had any concept of like depth or 3D elements to it.
Oh, so not even like side-scrolling, like it's like the top-down view, and you're like see the Yeah, it's like the flat, but like it's what's the like paper guy you could like send around to people? Flat Stanley, is that what it is?
Oh yeah, Flat
It's
Stanley.
kind of like you laid a Flat Stanley flat, but he still like moves across the table,
Yes.
the thing and everything.
It's more like that, because
But it's not like Mario where it's tied to like a left right quasi. You go up down left right all that stuff,
to
right?
a certain extent, but
Okay.
the bounds of that are the pages of the book.
Oh, very cool.
So when you're playing through the book, as you progress from one scene to the next, the book's pages literally turn. So anytime you're going from point A to point B and it's a different page, the book flips over
so
and you're on
cool.
a new page. It is so cute and adorable. So the most space you will ever have at your disposal at one time is 2 flat pages of the book. So in those cases, because of the way that you're zoomed in, there might be a tiny amount of like literal side scrolling, but not very much, because at any given time, you're going to have a pretty good zoomed out view of most or all of the book pages,
Yeah.
because you largely need them to solve the different puzzles that the book has for you. And this is one of my favorite things about it. It also plays into the trophies. So I
Oh,
feel like
nice.
people will like this. So it's a storybook, right? It's all about words and wordplay and changing the destiny of the book. How do you change a book? You change the words in the book.
Okay.
So, by virtue of Humgrump's magical shenanigans, Jot can now. So, basically, when Jot gets cast out of the book, he gains the ability to go in and out of the book at will through portals.
See, that seems like he got the better end of the deal.
No, I really think he did. Now he can really only jump in and out at specific portal points. He does not create those. They are just sort of laying around as sort of magical detritus, more or less. But they're always placed in very useful places for the puzzles, of course. None of them are actually randomized. So when you are jumping into the book, you have a couple of new powers now. Mainly, you can go up to text in the book. And if one of those words is maybe looking a little more magical than the others, you can strike at it with your sword and remove it from the sentence.
Oh.
And then you like chuck it off to the side, and then you go to one of the other sentences, slap one of the words out of that one, and then take that and put it into the other sentence, and it changes the environment.
Interesting.
It is
the environment.
It changes the literal environment. So let's say that you've what's one that I recently did? Oh, so one of the early things that they do in the book is you have to get past like a little enemy that has drank a bunch of water and is basically Snorlaxing in your path. So you can't pass him. He is too big and too gigantic. You can't get around him. You have to figure out, okay, how can I change the words of the book to get this creature out of my way? Because the sentences are like, their path was blocked by a big monster. But then you've got another little sentence off to the side that says, the tiny green frog was looking off into the distance. So you have to solve a couple of little environmental puzzles to get to the sentence about the tiny green frog, slap the word tiny out of there, take it back to the one about the monster, slap huge out of the monster sentence, blam in tiny, boom, the monster's tiny.
That's cool.
And then for extra credit and fun points, you can take the word huge and take it back to the frog sentence
I was gonna
and make
ask.
a huge frog.
That's fun.
And then you get a trophy for it.
So then you really get to play. Again,
Yes.
it like ties into that childhood storybook childhood playground
Absolutely. It
of
really
like getting to play with the imagination of the words.
That is a great way to describe it. And you can really, not all word interchanges do something, but a lot of them do. And anytime you do sort of a non-necessary word play, oftentimes that pops one of the achievements. So the frog was one of the achievements, so I gave you that one for free.
There we
But
go,
that's
there
the
we
only
go.
one you're going to get.
Also makes the Plucky Squire's name make a lot more sense.
Exactly right.
He's jotting down
He's
the solutions.
jotting down solutions. Now, the Plucky Squire he's a little warrior. He's a little knight. So he does have a little sword, but his sort of combat capabilities, again, I would really liken to early Zelda. Because pretty much all he does is like a triple slash combo that usually kills most enemies that are around you just out in the Goombas. The Goombas of the Plucky Squire. You can kill those with just a couple of slashes. Some of the enemies are a little bit different. You know, some of them fly, some of them shoot shoot little projectiles at you. Nothing crazy or like super insane until you eventually get to the bosses. But you have a couple of different upgrades for Jot as you go that are basically completely optional. You buy his upgrades from a little vendor. There's like a jumping down strike with the sword, which is really, really useful, actually. I would recommend you save up for it because it's very useful. There's like a spin attack, and then there's the ability to like throw your sword and have it boomerang back to you.
That's cool.
So some of them are really fun. Others, like the spin attack, it's so slow, it's never useful. But most of the other upgrades are pretty good. You can, of course, also increase your damage output. They're just upgrades for damage. You do have to pay for all of those. Like I said, they're from a shop. Enemies and like anything in the environment that you can strike at, sometimes they just spit out money. They just spit out the coins of the world, which look like little light bulbs.
Oh.
I'm not sure why that is, but they do. They're very cute.
Interesting.
Specifically in the 3D environment, the little light bulbs are so adorable. Something about their little shape is just so cute. So that's what happens in the book. Now, when you leave the book and you go out into the built world, you're usually in the 3D world for specific reasons. So typically what happens is you're playing through the chapters of the book as Humgrump has sort of redefined them, right? So each different chapter of the game is a chapter of the book. And in each given chapter, you are usually trying to solve a specific problem or defeat a specific enemy. And sometimes you cannot do that with the resources that you have available to you in the book. You have to leave. You have to go out into the 3D world and bring something back that will help you either manipulate the book or do something very specific like give you a new power or something like that. This is actually really fun because when you get out into the 3D world, you can manipulate the book. Like Jot has the ability to turn the pages of the book. So let's say that you're on page 30 of chapter 5 and you've run into a problem and you realize, oh shit, this sentence puzzle that I'm kind of stuck on, I bet if I swap out this word for a word I saw 10 pages ago.
Oh, wow. You can even do it to that much.
You leave the book, you flip the pages backward, you jump back in, you grab what you need, you get out, you flip the pages back,
That's really cool.
You dive back in and you change something else. It's
That's
really
so cool.
It's really cool. I will say that the game, you know what, I'll get to that later. I'll save that for later. So that's one of the really cool things about manipulating the book early on. Another one that you get later on, about the halfway point more or less, you can tilt the book. So like, let's say you've got something in the book that can slide from one side of the thing to the other. You can just sort of tilt the book up and then tilt it up the other way, and it moves things in the book.
Man.
It is so charming and cute.
That really is. It really does feel like they just like really went and thought of all the ways to make this feel like it's like you are part of a story, but also being like the child's imagination that's getting to like interact with this world.
Absolutely.
That's so fun.
And every time you are out in the 3D world, I mean, obviously I described the environments as being very Pikmin-esque, but it is very clear from his desk that Chris, or whatever his name is a very artistic child. And that's actually the stakes that you're up against, because if Humgrump has his way and Jot loses Moonbeam, Moonbeam? What did I say his name is? Moonbeam?
I think so.
I think his name is Moonbeam. Moonbeard. Jesus. Okay, Moonbeard. Moonbeard's... Oh, actually, a different character explains this to you. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Another character explains to Jot that if Jot loses and Chris comes back to his book and reads it and realizes that Jot isn't the unkillable hero that he always is, he'll lose faith in Jot. He won't read Jot's books anymore.
Oh.
They'll get shelved, and basically their imaginary world will collapse because a book that doesn't get read, sort of the thesis of the game is shelved books are dead creatures, which is horrible. They don't phrase it that way, but that's
it's implied.
That's implied.
It's the implication.
So everybody go to your shelves right now. Just quickly read all your books again.
It's like the what is it in Coco, the Pixar movie, where it's like they eventually like fade to nothing if they're forgotten when no one in the real world remembers them anymore.
That's exactly what it's like. Good pull.
Oh man, got dark.
It did get a little dark there, but the other stake on top of that is apparently the character that tells you this can see the future, and they know that Chris is going to go on to be a famous children's book author.
Okay, could bring you back into the future, but that's a lot to ride
I know,
on.
right? Yeah, it's like, well, you don't know that. He might decide he wants to become a doctor for the money, but okay. Anyway, so those are the stakes. You've got to fix your book because otherwise, if Grump wins, everything is going to fall to pieces.
Right.
So, where was I about the actual book?
You could tilt it.
Oh, yes, you can tilt the book, and of course you can go out into the 3D world and grab things and bring them back into the book with you. Those are usually the sorts of items that let you turn the pages of the book or manipulate the book, or you get a couple of items later on that do more specific things inside the book, like the ability to kind of stop time for very specific things. There's all kinds of different powers I'm not going to go too much into, but the other thing that the book has that the 3D world kind of does and kind of doesn't have is most of the boss battles that you fight take place in the book. And these are the hilarious points of the game where anytime you're in a major battle, like Jot's art changes, he stops being the adorable little Plucky Squire and he's suddenly a buff, big, manly man dude, and like the sleeves of his tunic are ripped off and he's
Incredible.
just totally ripped and like super cool.
That's fun.
It's so funny
It's like the Hulk.
it's so funny that they Hulk him out that way, and he always looks, and they never address it. They're just like, this is just how it looks when you're a hero. It's just what he does. But so the boss battles are actually kind of cool because they're completely different, like encapsulated mini games. So in one of them, you actually get a limited time item called the bow. That was the Magic the Gathering card that I posted in the Discord.
Yeah.
You borrow a bow from an elven Magic the Gathering card ripoff.
That's cool.
But when you get the bow, it's to fight the bugs because they're flying bugs. You need a bow to shoot them down. So there's this whole little boss battle mini game where for the first and only time you have to actually aim at creatures on screen and shoot them down in sort of a boss battle format.
That's cool.
There are many others like that. Actually, the one with Thrash is sort of a rhythm game. I say sort of because it was such a simplistic rhythm game, I feel hesitant to give it that title. But that's what they were going for, I guess. So all of the little boss battle mini games are sort of different or unique in their own way, and it's really delightful to see. There are also a couple of other one-off mini games, like you have to catch a fish with your bare hand at one point.
Okay.
And I was so bad at it. It took me so many tries to catch that fucking fish. And then I went and I looked at the trophy list. One of the ones required for the plat is catch the fish on the first try.
Oh my God.
I'm never going to be able to do it. I'll never be able to platinum the game.
Can you go back to like that specific chapter to try again, or do you have to replay the whole thing?
So that's a really...
Surely not, because that's such a very like...
Well, so here's the thing.
Oh no.
So you can flip back in the book to an extent. You can only go back as far as your current chapter.
Okay.
So if you've already left that chapter of the book, you would just have to restart the game. So unfortunately, I had already left that chapter.
And you can't
of the
go
book.
to the main menu, like chapter select, none of that stuff?
I don't. You know what? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I don't think so because I'm
But
not
I could
sure
also
about that.
see it's still not counting it. Like it being a thing where you do have to do it.
Because you have to do it on the first try. That implies that you have to do it
From
on
a
your
new
first
game.
save.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to do
Oh,
that.
no.
No offense, but I'm never going to do that.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate.
See, but that's why I hate trophies like that. We talked about that in
unmissable
our
trophies.
in our what was it? Pet peeves
Pet peeves,
episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was too bad. But anyway, so the mini games in the book are really, really fun. And then a few... So I will say this. This is sort of where we get into the cons-ish section about my review, because it's not all rainbows and magic all the time. There are a few things about the game that really piss me off.
Oh.
I mean, not... So this one is really specific, but it grinds my gear. Talk about video game pet peeves.
Okay.
Oh, this is one. So early on in the game, Moonbeard is sort of, he's your mentor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Plucky Squire is a game predominantly for children.
Okay.
It assumes that you have a malformed brain when you are playing the game. It believes that you are so stupid that you cannot possibly solve puzzles on your own. And even though I'm sure they knew adults would play it, you sort of have to design a game for the lowest common denominator. So to that end, the puzzles aren't overly complex in the first place. They're really quite simple. I would not really count any of the puzzles as being especially mind-bendingly challenging.
Okay,
They're
but I
really-
haven't played the game yet, though, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that.
Let's see how I do.
So the puzzles are already pretty easy. And then Moonbeard gives you a little helper called Minibeard. And Minibeard is, I know, right? So cute. So Minibeard is sort of a little interactable totem, more or less, that you can go up to and talk to if you're stuck on a puzzle.
Okay.
So they set up an object that you can talk to if you are having trouble with a puzzle.
Okay.
But then, even if you don't want help, Moonbeard will frequently, it's built into the game, it's hard baked into the game. Moonbeard will frequently call you over his rune tooth headset. Right? He'll call you over his rune tooth headset and he will just explain things that are so obvious.
Oh, no.
Like to the extent of both sort of leading you where, giving you little hints about a puzzle, like, oh, the item you need is in that red chest over there. It's like, bitch, I fucking know. I'm looking at the book. You think I can't see what's on the pages? But then he'll also, he'll chime in at any available time to tell you, oh, I think you need to exit the book. Oh, there's probably something on the desk that you need. Like, oh, you might have to go back and find this
Just
other thing you saw 5 pages ago. And
way
it's
too
like,
hand-holdy.
No, I already knew. The second I saw this thing on the page, I knew I needed to go back 3 pages to go to the cave that the book sort of glossed over the first time around. I'm an adult with a fully formed prefrontal cortex. I don't need this much help. So the part that is especially infuriating to me is they positioned it like help was optional.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't. It is mandatory and it is infuriating.
Yeah.
I don't mind when Moonbeard chimes in for story stuff. That's perfectly fine. I like him as a character, but it is way too hand-holdy in my opinion for a game that already isn't complicated.
Yeah. Like, I understand. I know that was one of the things that people got frustrated with. And even I was like, I noticed it too in playing God of War Ragnarok, that the puzzle hints came so quickly and just like you'd barely started the puzzle and Mimir's like, I think you should go up there. And you're like, shut up. Like, let me figure it out. And so like a game like that, though, the puzzles are more complicated, I would assume, than what the Plucky Squire gives. But still, it's like, okay, let me at least try.
Yeah, like I don't even get the chance to like try to figure out for myself whether or not I need to leave the book.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to explore the pages, see what I can figure out on my own. So that is currently my biggest pet peeve about the game, is that it is far too hand-holding.
Yeah.
The other thing that isn't necessarily a con exactly, goodness, but it could potentially be depending on the kind of gamer that you are. I could be, maybe this was just my perception, but I felt like a lot more of the game took place in the book, which is fine. I loved the book. The art is adorable. The word puzzles were really fun and cute. I didn't even mind the very simplistic combat. I thought that was all fine. But the stuff that you can do in the 3D world is so fun.
Oh, yeah?
There's this whole section in the middle of the game where it's nighttime in the room. And oh my God, I have to gush about this real quick. The colors, the like color palette and the visuals that they chose for the desk at night are just the height of whimsy.
Oh, that's cool.
It was so delightful to see and be able to interact with many different sections of the desk all at night, because the colors, the colorscapes that they used there were just phenomenal.
That's cool.
And all of the platforming aspects of that section were dialed up to 11, because specifically for that chapter, you got to briefly buddy up with a little rocket that attached himself to your back. So when you jumped, you could jetpack around.
That's so cool.
Now, it wasn't infinite.
That technology was not around in the medieval
No,
times.
it wasn't. They didn't have
Jot should consider himself lucky.
He really should. That must have been
As well as
mind-blowing for
Plucky.
him. But it was so fun to jetpack around all over the place. It was an absolute blast, and you have to go through to like 3 different sections of the desk and find little pieces of the rocket's dad.
Oh, shit.
Because I guess he got disassembled by Humgrump.
Oh, God.
So he seems very relaxed about it, though. He's
Yeah.
not very worried. But you put his dad back together,
Oh,
and then
phew.
you go off and do another boss fight or whatever. But that section was so delightful. I just couldn't help but be like, I want this to be the whole game.
Yeah.
I want the whole, like, again, it's not necessarily a con, because I completely understand the balance between the two. But I would have loved more like that.
Yeah.
I would have loved more of those sort of more, and I'm putting hardcore in big air quotes here, but more of those hardcore platformer elements. I think those were extremely fun for me. So I would have loved a lot more of that. But what we did have was very well done.
Nice.
So that's sort of a pro and a con. The book and the built world, they work very well in tandem together. I just would have liked a little bit more of that Pikmin flavor.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I'm just a Pikmin player at my core. I can't help it. So the other thing that I would say, and this again is not really a pro or a con, it sort of depends on the type of gamer that you are and really what mood you're in.
Sure.
Because like I said, there's a narrator for the book, and a lot of sections of the game, you can't speed the narrator up. So when the narrator is talking, you're just along for the ride. So not huge portions of the game, but there will be times where you're just sort of sitting there for multiple pages of the book, listening to the narrator tell you what's happening. And like I said, these are probably actually very short scenes, maybe a couple of minutes max. But if you're not really in that mood to basically sit along for what is more or less an interactive movie in certain spots, you might find that a little bit too slow paced for you. So if you're not really cool with that, as far as I could tell, there were no options to speed up or skip those sections, which I get. If I fucking made an artistically beautiful game, I would force people to look at all the beautiful environments I made too.
Right.
But part of me is like, oh, but that means that if I ever replay it, I can't skip all this.
Oh, yeah.
So that means that if you were trophy hunting to catch that fucking fish because you couldn't get him
And
on the first
you're on the 10th time you're playing through this game to get that fish.
I mean, really, if you had been sitting with me while I was trying to catch the fish, it was like 20 failed catches. It was so many. It was so sad. But anyway, so that's something that I think people should just be aware of, is that it's not a fast-paced game. It is more on rails. I would describe it as being on rails because all of the chapters are very much guided by the narrator. They're guided by the overarching story that you're going through. So if you want to sort of run and gun, you can't do that in this game. So just be aware of that going in. It's
not a hack and slash.
It's not a hack and slash, no. And then the other thing, so we're sort of out of the pros and cons area and into the just sort of what surprised me about the Plucky Squire. I was surprised at how long it was.
Oh, really?
I don't know what gave me this impression, but I was fully expecting that this was going to be one of those tight 4 to 5 hour games. And it was not.
I just kind of assume it maybe, I don't know, maybe just kind of all of Devolver's games kind of feel on the lower end of time. I mean, like Cult of the Lamb's pretty long, but that's just because it's a quasi never-ending game. Like, yes, there's a story and stuff like that, but like the amount of gameplay you can put in is pretty long. But some of the others, like My Friend Pedro and some stuff like that, like not super long.
I would say that Plucky Squire, I think, is like a 9 to 11-ish.
Oh, okay.
Game. I think that. So it was just much longer than I thought it was going to be. Like when I sort of...
I thought you were going to say, it's 30 hours.
No, God. But I just remember being surprised when I checked my progress on the PS5 screen and saw that I was only halfway through. I was like, wait, what? Oh my God.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so that took me a little bit by surprise, but that does help justify the price tag because I think the game is $30 if you have to buy it full price on Steam or on PS5 or whatever other platforms it's on. But if you are a PS5 extra or premium subscriber, the game is completely free.
It's just part of the game's catalog?
It's just part of the game's catalog. So that's actually why I'm playing it at all, because on launch day, it was free for PS Plus Extra and Premium. So if you've got access to those, highly recommend the Plucky Squire. And if you don't, I would still recommend it. I think it's a lovingly crafted game. You can just see all of the creativity oozing out of every page of the book. So I mean, just to support what is clearly a very talented indie team and whatever their next project is, I would love to see more from them. Please just make a new Pikmin game. I don't care what you have to do to make it happen.
Just fire the team who's making Pikmin 5 and put the Plucky Squire devs on it.
Playing through the Plucky Squire, it made me so desperately want like a relaxed life sim Pikmin game where you just are the Pikmin. I was like, they don't need Olimar. I just want to be a
their
Pikmin,
lives,
just
doing
living my
Pikmin
life
stuff.
out on somebody's desk.
Incredible.
So it was such a cute game, beautifully made, like I said. Great soundtrack, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Ooh,
we
I'll
didn't
check that
get
out.
that much into it, but a lot of the soundtrack sections are really good. Thrash's section in particular is really fun because he's sort of like a metalhead.
Oh, nice.
His entire mountain troll people are like they're all metalheads. Like their ultimate god is like a god of metal. And when you get to the top of the mountain, actually, you encounter one of Thrash's uncles who is actively dying.
No. Jesus.
Right. He's like, Humgrum got me, son. I'm not gonna make it. It's so funny. But he dies right in front of you.
Oh my God.
But he goes to Trollhalla. So he like goes up into the clouds. And then he actually comes back later and he winds up sort of being one of your pseudo rhythm game bosses.
Sure.
So it's super funny.
God.
Even when things are bad, they're still really good. But my point being, that entire section had sort of a metal flair to the soundtrack. So, and some of the trees were shaped like the little hand symbol for Rock On. It was so cute. So the game is full of whimsy, just full of it.
It sounds like it. It's fun to see how much effort they put into putting those little touches into the game that really give it that, like I said, that like childlike imaginative feel.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty good. That's really cool to see. It was one definitely on my radar because of the art style and stuff like that. I always love when games kind of take a left turn or come out of left field with some new thing like that, or even just like with Bastion doing that was the first game I knew of that had like full watercolor painted backgrounds, hand painted watercolor backgrounds, stuff like that. When developers get really fun with the art style, I think that's really fun to see, really fun to get to try out. So the Plucky Squire had been on my radar for that reason. Fun to see that you liked it so much, because that obviously gives me a little bit more incentive to want to play it too. I really thought though I was gonna get that it was going to be one of those games that they did like PS Plus members get it free like everybody does. And so then when I figured out it was only like extra and premium though, I was like, damn it, I want to play it. But eventually.
So I feel like this screen grab really doesn't do it justice, but that's one of the screenshots I took during the night scene.
Wow.
It is so adorable.
Okay, well, send me this so I can put it into the episode. But holy shit, it is so cute. It looks so good.
It looks so good. I just make a 3D platforming game.
It kind of also looks like, reminds me a little bit of like I know different look or aesthetic and stuff like that, but Yoshi's Crafted World. It kind of looks like that too.
Yeah, that's a really good compare. I mean, in a different way, of course, but really good comparison. Oh wait, here's one of the pictures of Swole Jot.
Holy shit.
He's so funny.
He has hit the gym.
He is benching them weights.
And I love too how like the art of the bow, you can tell it comes from something different. Yes. Not his book.
It is so funny. Like it looks so out of place the whole time. It's really funny how they do that.
But I love that mismatch, the mishmash of art styles and stuff like that. It's so cool.
So cool. All right. Anyways, that's the Plucky Squire. I think it's delightful. And if you have $30 to spare, or you already are a PS Plus Extra Premium member, go play it. It's such a good game.
Try it out.
Or put it on your Christmas wish list. I bet that on Steam, it's probably going to go on sale over the holidays. So bookmark it for later.
In doing some like a precursor research on it and everything before we started recording, I did see that there is going to be a physical version of the game coming out that you can pre-order now and stuff like that.
Oh my God. Well, maybe just hold out for the physical version then. Yeah.
So anyway, really cool to hear about that. I'm glad you got a chance to knock it out and play it, because I was curious and interested about it. So very fun. I'll have to add it to my list though for sure. But yeah, if you have played the Lucky Squire, you have thoughts on the Lucky Squire, let us know. We would love to hear from you.
It sounds like you're saying the Lucky Squire.
Am I?
Say Plucky again.
Plucky.
Okay. that one definitely had a P in it. I'm not so sure that the other ones did.
The Plucky Squire.
Okay.
The Plucky Squire. I'm just gonna have I don't know what I said this whole episode.
Well, John is pretty lucky. He gets magical powers for nothing instead of Humgrum just killing him.
That's true. But yeah, let us know if you've played the game or have any thoughts by writing us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com, following us on socials wherever you want, or commenting below on the video wherever you listen to podcasts, or of course jump over on our Discord, talk about it with us there, because we just love to talk about games all the time. So all the time. Anyway, if you want to get in contact with us, let us know. But with that, everybody, that does conclude this episode of Team Chat Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us today. And until next time, I am one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right, Mogan.
Adios.
We'll see you on the next episode.